You are listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. Well, hello Radio Nonsense listeners to a mini in-betweeny episode of Radio Nonsense, the official Comedy Club for Kids podcast, suitable for all ages from 2 and everything in between. I'm Tiernan, obviously I am, and I do hope you had a superbly silly Christmas and you're about to have a very, very snappy New Year. But of course, it's neither of those things right now, is it? It's this weird in-betweeny bit where no one knows what the day is, or the time is, or the year is, or where they are, and every meal is sort of leftovers, sort of crisps, sort of chocolate, and everyone does those farts that sound a bit like a whale singing. It's actually my favourite bit of the holidays because you've got all the prezzies, so you can just have time to play with them or look at them or eat them because there is nothing else to do. And your wibbly parp farmers, grown-ups, can't tell you off because all they're doing is looking at screens, eating crisps and farting like a whale singing. As you can hear, Comedy Club for Kids HQ is closed for the holidays, so I am just sitting here with my feet up by the fire, which is a very risky thing to do. Not just because you have to be very careful with a fire anyway, don't you? But also because at any moment a farting animal who's full of Christmas whale song farts could fire one in the direction of the flames and cause a massive explosion. I'm very much hoping that doesn't happen though. 428 stinky hippos are very quietly lying by the fire, getting very warm and making a really horrible smell. And Linda is, I don't know where she is. I am trying my best to relax though and look through all the presents that Father Christmas brought for me, including this. There's my bike. There is also a piano. That's exactly what I wanted, but it is rubbish because you can't play the piano while cycling as it's a bit too dangerous, and you can't cycle because it has a piano on it, so it's too heavy. Oh well. I did also get this knee. And strangely, I also got this note from Santa himself that just says, "Why are you so boo-boo?" I don't know what that means, but it came wrapped around a lemon that was actually a potato painted yellow. That's exactly what I didn't ask for. Every time. But while I'm in holiday mode, I thought I would go through some of the questions that have been sent in by you listeners that have already had a question answered by an expert. As you know, if I've got an expert to answer your important question, then any further questions you send in get added to a special pile called "What do you mean another question? Who do you think you are, the Queen?" And then they'll get answered only when other people have had a go first. Except they are usually pretty important questions too, and so I thought I would take a look and see if I can just answer any of them myself while I've got a bit of time off. So, as I sit by this roaring fire, well, great, thanks tiny farting monitor lizard. Now I have no eyebrows. Luckily, I hadn't taken your questions out of the mailbag yet, otherwise they'd have all gone on fire. So, here we go. Right, these two questions are from regular contributor Taco Ben in the US, who I have always assumed was an actual taco writing in, and if you are a taco out there listening to the show, you are more than welcome. And it turns out I was kind of right too about Taco Ben. He recently had his question about dinosaurs farting on you answered by the excellent Meredith Hackman a few episodes back, if you'd like to check that out. But Ben also asked, why do tacos look like a UFO? And am I an alien since I'm a taco, or do aliens live inside me? Well, that is a very good question, Ben. Or should I call you Mr. the Taco? Or even, hey, this isn't what I ordered, I wanted a burrito. I'm afraid to say that all tacos are UFOs, and the aliens have actually been on the Earth for many, many, many thousands of years. But they look like guacamole or refried beans or a number of other taco fillings. And we hadn't really realised, so we've just been eating them. Oops, but they are so tasty with a little bit of cheddar and some olives. What's even worse, though, is that us eating those aliens caused an intergalactic war as other aliens arrived to avenge their friends who'd also been eaten. But unfortunately, they all looked like burgers or hot dogs and arrived in ships that looked like buns, and so we just ate them as well. Yum! It is a shame, really, as they had some very, very cool stuff to tell us. Anyway, Ben, if you are a taco, then yes, you probably have around 46 alien residents, and I do hope you're nice to them and you don't randomly jump about, as that would make them very, very seasick. Ben also asks, question, where did the chicken nugget warriors go, and who's protecting the chicken noogies now? Well, that is also a very important question, Ben Taco. Chicken nuggets aren't aliens, but are instead a very valuable Earth resource that actually contain no chicken whatsoever. It's a bit like how Iceland isn't icy and Greenland isn't green, but they called that to confuse the Vikings. Well, basically, chicken nuggets were called chicken nuggets as the legendary chicken nugget warriors thought that might confuse anyone that wanted to take them, and then they'd leave them alone, thinking they were just food and not a valuable resource. But instead, it really didn't work, because everyone just thought they sounded tasty and they kept eating them. So the chicken nugget warriors really realised they were fighting a battle they could never win and gave up because they just couldn't stop everyone eating chicken nuggets. I'm vegetarian. I've had veggie chicken nuggets. They couldn't stop me doing that. So anyway, they just gave up. And one of them has now since written a book called Nuggets of Wisdom. One became a celebrity chef, and one has now had hiccups non-stop for 15 years. And another has a pancake stuck to their bum. Who is protecting the chicken noogies now? Well, that is easy. It's breadcrumbs, and they are rubbish at it. Then there are these two very, very complex questions from Micah in the US, who asked a little while back about how to find Lemons Are Us, which was brilliantly answered by the listies. Micah, who says it's pronounced Mike, like a zombie has eaten them halfway through writing, they say, what happens when you turn on your fan and it falls from the ceiling? Will it fly away? Well, yes, Micah, actually, they fly straight off into the sky, and then it'll fly round and round the Earth for 3 years without landing. It will just sort of keep flying. It will sleep while flying. It will poop while flying. It'll eat while flying. And then when it does land, it lays its eggs somewhere really high up, so that baby ceiling fans can hatch safely, and then they'll fly off when they're strong enough, and then hopefully not get caught by people who design rooms with fans in. Otherwise, they'll get stuck to a ceiling somewhere. If they're really clever, these ceiling fans sort of land somewhere like the UK where no one needs a ceiling fan, as the weather here is always so horrible, and that way the ceiling fans can be free forever, although they do have to live in a rubbish rainy place. It's rumoured some ceiling fans actually once flew so high up they're now in space, and they're keeping aliens on Alpha Centauri. Really, really nice and cool. Those are aliens that don't look like tacos. There's quite a lot of different ones. And then Micah asks, question, what the penguin wear to the prom on Tuesday? Well, that is an easy one. I'm assuming you're talking about next Tuesday, because that's when the big prom is. The penguin is going to wear a big Stetson cowboy hat. On top of that, they're going to have a box of cornflakes. They're also going to be wearing a green shirt, sized medium men's, a bright blue jacket that has a dormouse asleep in the pocket, and in the other pocket, it's full of noodles and peanut butter. They're also wearing Bermuda shorts and a pair of hiking boots. And that is because penguins have no idea how to get dressed, and they are completely and utterly ridiculous. Luckily, it's a problem for penguins, and so no one really cares, and they all look really stupid. And a third question from Micah, where do werewolves buy Christmas gifts? Right, well, they used to just howl and 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 howl until someone just got all their Christmas gifts for them, and would then sort of like hand them the presents and run away because they're a bit scared, and they get all their stuff for free. But now, werewolves mostly just buy stuff online, as it's easier and much quicker and less annoying for everyone else. But luckily, the full moon this year, sort of at least in the western side of the hemisphere, was on December the 26th. So that was Boxing Day, and that meant that werewolves hadn't turned into werewolves yet, and they were all still humans, and they could do all their Christmas shopping like everyone else. And then they turned into werewolves just in time for Boxing Boxing Day, where they can eat all the scraps and leftovers, which they love, as they're like really, really big dogs. And that is why if you see a werewolf do a poo in the park, you do have to pick it up in a small plastic bag and pop it into a bin. Right, so that's it for questions asked by those of you who've already had questions answered. If you've never sent in a question before and you would like an expert to answer it, or you have sent in a question before but you'd like me to answer it on these weird mini episodes that only happen a few times a year, or maybe I should do them more often and just send them to our Linda Edition subscribers, then do get your Wibbly Park Farmers, grown-ups, to help you email me at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk. You can, of course, send in anything else you'd like to. Jokes you want to have read out, what your New Year's resolutions are, or just how like a whale your grown-ups fart sounded over the holidays. If your grown-ups want to help support this show, they can sign you up to the advert-free Linda Edition on Acast Plus, Apple Podcasts, or Patreon via Spotify for just $2.99 a month. At the moment, it just means you get this show without adverts in it, and you get it one day earlier. But if enough of you sign up, maybe there will be some extra stuff too. And you can also check out our live shows, of which we have loads and loads and loads in 2024. You can see where they are at comedyclubforkids.co.uk, or grab our t-shirts and book at comedyclubforkids.store. Radio Nonsense is now on a very small break while I sit here by this fire in total peace and quiet. Ah! Oh, great, now I have no hair. Thanks, tiny farting marmoset. Hopefully, though, it'll have grown back by January the 10th when the show returns. Have the happiest of New Year's and a very fun, weird middle bit in between before then. Bye! You have been listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents. Radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense. It's the end.